Next we have Joy Powers.
Hey guys. Hey, it's good to be back amongst so many friends. I'm excited to be with you guys today. First, I want to say thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for Rebecca for organizing this, because it is obvious I might not have been around for the glory days of the Fighting Night, but I have heard about the power and the force of the Fighting Night. And what's so special about that is not that we're the Fighting Knights because we fight with each other, but it's the Fighting Knights because we fight for each other. And so that is why organization is so important. I was down in Tazewell County, and they were telling me all about how they used to organize their entire year pretty much in a week, and they knew that every citizen in their county was going to get contacted by a Democrat. And that level of organization that they used to do way before these computers came about. Imagine that. Imagine that kind of passion again. But that's what I think we're seeing. I think we're seeing that all over the district, again and again. We're going to county meetings and we're seeing people having to pull out more chairs and people having to squish together because the movement and is growing. And I don't think it's by accident. We know exactly the moment we're in. It's the moment that probably brought us all, some of us, to this room. It's the moment that brought me to politics. I'm Joy Powers. I had no intention of ever running for public office. That's not really why I wanted what I wanted to do with my life. I'm a farmer. I love telling people about farming. I love educating people. I love educating the younger generation about how to build a better future. And to me, farming was always the tool and the avenue to do that. And so I grew up in 4-H and FFA, but probably what is maybe my most qualifying feature to date to run for this office and to talk to voters is the fact that I was born and raised at a bipartisan kitchen table. I was born by a Southern Democrat dad, and I never voted for that man, conservative mom. No, I'm serious. So when you're raised by a mother who grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh in the car when you were little, but knew where to draw the line when it came to Donald Trump, that does matter. And so I grew up just always in love with policy because I understood that policy is what connects people. Policy is what makes things possible for our communities. So when we were talking about, how to balance payroll and I remember my dad had stage 4 colorectal cancer as a small business owner before ACA. I remember my mom cashing in her final college savings bonds to pay for his cancer treatment. That was the reality that we grew up with. And you know what no one was saying? No one got to say, oh, it's the Democrats' fault, oh, it's the Republicans' fault. It was actually just about the fault of the policy at hand. And that is what we desperately have to get back to. But even still, I never thought I would be here, and you're saying, what brought you here, Joy? And last year, I entered the House of Delegates race after November 2024, and that reality check that gave all of us that we had to do something more. I was one of the 100. I ran in HD 51, and I learned a lot. But we were also able to do a lot of good with that campaign. So one of the things that we did was we collected supplies for Southwest Virginia when the floods came. Some of you in this room know that pain a lot more than I do. Some of you guys lived it in your communities. It was every other week another community was getting hit. So my friend Dustin posted pictures of Daint. And I don't know if you guys saw the pictures when Daint got hit, but it was a gut punch. And so a couple of our campaigns down in our way, we said, okay, well, we have events this week. Let's just collect as much as we can, and then we'll take it down there. And so that's what I did. So we took a truckload of paper towels, of supplies, materials, and we took them all down to Daint. And we were talking to folks there. And what I saw in Daint, I had never seen anywhere else in America. I had seen that level of systemic abandonment in Central America. I had seen it in Southeast Africa, but I had never seen it in Virginia. Because you looked around, we were there, where was all the aid? Where was the help? Where was the help from the state? Where was the help from the federal government? No, these were people who didn't have anything, who were out helping their neighbors who had even less. And so I was talking to, I said, well, what happened when Congressman Griffith came down? And they said, well, we looked for him, we tried to contact him the day after the storm came. And the day after the storm hit, he was in one of Trump's big parties at the White House. The day after that, he got on a plane in D.C. He flew to Tri-Cities. He got in a car. He drove out to Dayton. They said he walked around really quiet, looking at stuff, couldn't figure out what he was doing. Then the media showed up. He got his picture in front of all the damage. And so the firefighter went and talked to him as he was going to leave. He said, well, what can we expect? When can we expect the federal response for our community? And do you know what that man said? He said, you are too small for the federal government to help. That's why I'm running for Congress. I went to Dayton a few weeks ago, and what I saw was a town that had built itself back up, and they put themselves back together as best they could. But what I also saw was I saw passion, and I saw people who want to stay, people who deserve to stay. We went down and we learned in the Dayton Coal Museum, the Coal and Railroad Museum, about a town that was once 6,000 that is now 500. You had 6 schools, a school in every holler. You had a theater, a big hotel. You had a booming industry center. And what happened to it? Corporate consolidation said it's too expensive to keep up and we're moving out of town. That should be a wake-up call for all of America. What America is seeing on a macro level right now across our country, our coal fields already experienced and are still feeling the damage of. So if you want to know where we're going, where this economy is headed, go down to Dayton, go down to Dickinson, go down to the coal fields and talk to those people because they are still fighting it. We have serious work to do in this district. You know, we all have different approaches, and I know that we all are Democrats, and we all have those things that get us and drive us to do this, that drive us to campaign, to drive us to upend our lives. But we cannot ignore the pain that is in this district right now. In Scott County, we have 15 children. A 2-year-old died 2 weeks ago. We have 15 children with pediatric cancer, and nobody's providing answers. We have data centers popping up literally in every corner of this district. If the maps pass, guess what, guys? We get the Google one, and Botetourt too. Just call us data center district. But what does that mean for our kids and our next generation? You know, my son is my why. He's my sunshine. If you've met him, you probably understand why. But Eli, I adopted Eli from foster care. And Eli was part of the reason why that November 2024 loss hurt so bad. Because Eli was so excited to go vote for future President Harris, because President Harris looks like him. You know, I remember what it felt like to put him to bed that night and, you know, to say our prayers and to be excited to wake up the next morning. Because I had envisioned, I went to bed and I was like, okay, when he wakes up, this is what I'm going to say, and it's going to be this core memory. And then instead, I woke up at 4 a.m. and told my partner, what the hell happened and what are we going to do? And so that's why I'm so proud of all of you in this room. But just as that we have a federal threat to our Constitution and our congressional powers, we also have threats that are hurting us here at home. Those kids in Scott County I talked about, 14 of the 15 are under 5 years old. Almost all of them are being treated in Tennessee because that community is split by a state line. Tennessee has a 5-year data lag for cancer investigations. If we do not intervene now, we might not have the kids to save later. That is the reality of this district. And guess what? That's how we get, that's what the Republicans care about. These Republicans did not vote for hate. They voted because, just like a woman told me last week in Clinchco, she said, I just want you to know our monthly income is $1,400 and our power bill was $1,100.
We have people choosing between heating and eating, and that is the reality. And so I don't want to shame Republicans, and I tell everybody on our campaign, I said, we never shame Republicans onto our ship. Because they were lied to. The GOP has invested millions of dollars into lying to our neighbors. They didn't vote. The majority of our neighbors did not vote for hate. They voted for affordability because they are struggling every time they go to the grocery store. They voted to make America great again. They voted to put America first. And they were lied to. So that's where the opportunity is. We know what they need. We know what they want. But we also know where their pain is, and we show up there. That's what, we were actually in Scott County, the same county. We were down a few weeks ago, and at their county committee meeting, they had sign-up sheets for every county meeting, economic development, board of supervisors, and they had them where all their members would sign up and take turns going, because it's important to show up as Democrats in those spaces. It's incredibly important in this district more than others. You want to know why? Because there are people who love us who still, for some reason, think Democrats are Democrats. So that's the challenge here. No other Democrats in another district know our communities like we do. They don't know the reason why people continue to move here. I'm sure there's some people in this room who chose to move to this district despite it being red, right? Why? Because our communities are good. They are full of good people, and they deserve better. And so that's the campaign we are running. We are running on what is actually going to matter and make a difference to people here, because quite frankly, they can't stand another representative who is focused on national priorities. Morgan Griffith has closed half of our OB units in this district. Half. Blacksburg Town Police are training their officers to deliver babies on the side of the road. And how many of you guys live in a lot more rural places than Blacksburg? Exactly. So guys, my question to you is, and this is what I asked, who decided that we had to live this way? Who decided that our small communities are too small for the federal government or the state government to show up? Because it wasn't us, and it also wasn't our Republican neighbors either. So I'm so impressed that you guys are here. Thank you for spending your Saturday here. We are excited to be out in the district, working in the district. If there's anything that we can do, please let us know. And I will reiterate again, this is a good thing that we have multiple candidates in a primary. We do not do Republicans any favors here, but eating our own. That's not what we need to do. And like Mr. Crockett said, if we have an August 4th primary, we all need to start working on Mr. Griffith now. Thank you guys.